everyone, Pineaaronapple here with the latest 5th Doctor audio story, 40, Volume 2, The Auton Infinity. A 6-part multi-hour epic taking up the entire box set, unlike its predecessor that we reviewed here that did have 6 parts, but split them between 2 separate stories. So with how long it is, and with how many ideas and characters it was packed with, did the Auton Infinity do well as both a conclusion to 40 and as a standalone story, or did its multitude of ideas relating to Unit, the Time Lords, and Auton's genesis and character arcs bog the audience down in the runtime? Well, let's find out. Spoilers ahead for anyone who hasn't listened. The Auton Infinity, written by Tim Foley, starts continuing on from the last episode of 40, with the 5th Doctor's consciousness now meeting the Brigadier, and asking for information on the situation as a cold open. This start was fine, but got a little jarring as it is immediately tangented from into the main story, only to be picked back up in what I think was part 3. So in the first scene we hear the Brig arriving on site to a new training exercise by Unit and the government, involving a fake alien force against trained Unit operatives. Among the notable characters, we have Veronica from the government, and both Hwari and Ted from Unit. With the fake aliens, they are given masks to wear by a woman calling herself Prodigal. These octopus-looking things are plastic and controlled offspring, or children, of Prodigal, who is in fact a walking Nestine. An interesting idea we will get into later. This is when the Doctor, Tegan and Turlough arrive, although this Doctor is not the Doctor who's been dragged along his own timeline that we had seen before. Let's call that one the past Doctor. So, the current Doctor and co arrive at the Unit base and start to investigate as the human Autons wipe out a platoon of soldiers. Tegan and Hwari are captured, being used as chauffeurs, and Tegan having a surprising amount of chemistry with Prodigal. The Doctor, Turlough and Ted make it to the Nestine base, shutting off their interference field. Although this base is not what they expected. It is a circus tent. Well, it looks like one. In reality, this is another TARDIS, one owned by the Master, who has once again teamed up with the Nestine. He pranks the Doctor with a reference to the Curse of Fatal Death, but after hearing what happened to Tegan, they start to make their way back. Ted and the Brig are told about how the masks control people, but as the Doctor starts to rig up a device to disable them, and Turlough makes his way to the TARDIS, Ted and the Brig decide to open fire on the masked men, the Doctor citing this as odd behaviour from his old friend, but he is able to disable them after a nice conversation with Veronica. Turlough makes it to the TARDIS, but both he and Tegan are shot by Prodigal, with her turning the TARDIS into a doorway of sorts. The Doctor and co make it to the TARDIS and come face to face with Prodigal, who we hear is definitely working with the Master, who the Brig thinks is among them, but he predicts that since the Master would not be a female, bullshit, the Brig shoots Ted as the only remaining suspect, clearly signalling that the Brig is not what he seems, and is in fact the Master. Then in part 3, we see where the past Doctor and the real Brig ended up, in, ironically enough, the brig of an old castle. This castle being a time ship, or time driller, I think they called it. A weapon used by old-timey cults on Gallifrey. They meet Tegan and Turlough, who had not died when being shot, and get to work Scooby-Dooing around the ship. The Doctor and Tegan finding a Nestine pool, much like in Rose, and learning of Prodigal's origins and plan. A really interesting piece of this story is the lore. Honestly, great ideas about the origin of the Nestine being a shard of a great old one, and Prodigal being a piece of the Nestine dropped into the Death Zone in the 5 Doctors and struggling to come to grips with being an independent being, which is all displayed greatly and very engagingly. But it's at this point we learn that Turlough and the Brig, who have great chemistry here, being in a strange point both before and after Mordred Undead, find the Doctor, Their doctor, who was in the previous parts, and the time-skipping doctor now revealed as landing his consciousness in an Auton copy. By the end, the Brig and the Master get a good confrontation. Prodigal continues as a great and emotional character until the end, and the whole time-skipping plot arc is revealed as a plan devised by both Doctors in the first place to stop the time ship and the great old one Eldritch Terror thing wrapped around it, but of course the Master gets away in the end. Even though it is a long listen, for the great ideas it comes up with and emotive performances, I would recommend the story. So I obviously haven't spoiled every last detail here, like a couple of great cameos and resolutions of character arcs. But on the whole, the story was a well-crafted one, and obviously had some imagination and effort poured into it. Now let's touch on the characters. The Fifth Doctor himself, obviously played by Peter Davidson, was pretty good in both forms. As the Auton Doctor, he does well as both a continuation as this version of the character from 40, and in giving the Auton Doctor a character all his own when compared to the real one. His dilemma between being Nestine and the Doctor, and also coming to terms with his limited existence, were great and did well to communicate the appropriate emotions across. As the main Doctor, he was good as usual, but honestly, I don't think he gets the same moments that the Auton/40 Doctor got. Next is Tegan Jovanka, or as my daddy would say, Jovanka, played by Janet Fielding. I really enjoyed Tegan in this story. Sure, she has the same attitude she normally has, which if not used right, might get a little grating, but Janet Fielding gives us a great performance. And the writing, especially the stuff that foreshadows the events of Resurrection of the Daleks, was really interesting. Our other companion, Turlough, was played by Mark Strickson, and although Turlough is not my favourite, had some very good moments. Mark Strickson's acting was at status quo, perfectly serviceable, but his sarcasm and cynicism were used to good effect, especially when paired with the Brigadier, even if their relationship is a bit strange considering the timelines. Our last good guy would be one of the many characters played by Jean Colshaw here, an impression of Nicholas Courtney as the Brigadier, or Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart. I love this character in general, and while I'm not sure he nails the difference in ages, John Colshaw does generally a good job at impersonating the character. The Brig does get a fair bit to do. As said before, what he gets with Turlough was interesting, and I do remember liking his confrontation with the Master in the trippy time hallway. So I'd have to say this character was positive overall. One of our villains, also played by John Colshaw, being the Master in his alien incarnation. And while I feel like his part in the story could have probably been paced better, all his interactions and moments were both entertaining, and felt to me very in line with the actual character played by the original actor. I did want more from the character here, but I feel like his appearance here was well done on the whole. Our other villain was Prodigal, played by Juliet Aubrey, and I found her far more interesting than the Master. The performance was far more varied and emotional, and her story not only scratched my lore itch, but both her connection to the Nestine, her past and her mother dynamic, with the plastic masks, all kept me engaged both emotionally and just on a basic story level. So I honestly think this character is one of the great audio original villains we have reviewed. Next is a short-lived side character only appearing in the first two parts as far as I can remember, due to being shot, was Ted Mears, played by Oscar Pearce. He was good while he was there, not a standout character, but served his purpose well, and going out unceremoniously. Not much else to say. Then there was Veronica Holmes, played by Lucy Fleming, and she got far more to do than Ted. Not only was the performance good, but she got her own character progression, from uptight, straight edge, to helping out and taking adventurous steps into the world of defeating alien threats. The character type was probably done better elsewhere, but I did have fun with this character. And finally, barring the story's great cameos, we have Janet Worry, played by Fiona Hampton. And while the performance was decent, the character doesn't get much to do, only really affecting things in the first and last thirds of the story. In my memory, completely absent from the middle, and not doing much in those first and last parts. Another thing I want to talk about are the effects. While I don't recall any great OST tracks, the sound used for the Nestine and Autons interested me. The Auton gun blasts sound classic, and the Nestine pool screeches sound much like the ones from Rose, giving the story a great consistency with other Auton outings, both in New Who and Classic. So, those were my thoughts on Doctor Who 42. No, wait, that's a Chris Chibnall episode. 42. Okay, Jesus, I'll just have the cover up on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. The episode, The Auton Infinity, while long, had great characters, great ideas, sound design that kept my attention without annoying me, and if you get into the original 40 box set, I highly recommend this. Being better than those stories, but only really paying off anything if you've listened to those first two stories. So I'll give Doctor Who 42, The Auton Infinity by Tim Foley, a 9 out of 10. I feel like maybe if it were done just a little bit shorter, or if the pacing was different, this would almost hit a 10. But I'm comfortable leaving this at 9, as this is a story that really fits the bill in what I look for commonly in a Doctor Who episode, giving the release a full score of 9. Last box set, I gave Secrets of Telos a 5 out of 10, and God of War a 4 out of 10. Both serviceable. I liked Secrets of Telos, but didn't think it was a masterpiece, and I had very mixed feelings on God of War, leaving that box set against our 9 out of 10 here, a 4.5 out of 10. This one story that I think was well made and that I enjoyed a lot, surpassing it by far. But while I won't put it on the rewatchability scale, the length of this story means that I probably won't be re-listening to this anytime soon. And although I am giving this a 9 out of 10 when compared to 40 or some other audio stories I've been listening to recently, I still think there is a lot of content that I would probably rate less, maybe a 7.5 or an 8 to 8.5 out of 10, that I would probably like to listen to more than this one. But I can certainly recognise where this story has its large amount of positives and where it does have its negatives. Thank you everybody for watching my video on 42. Like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, tell me if there's something else you'd like me to review, and hit the subscribe button, and if you do, ring that notification bell so you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.